We now come to what might be my favorite part of the Passover Seder, namely the four questions. And as our confirmation students can tell you, there's actually not four questions. There is one central question that lies above everything else. And that question, of course, is why is this night different than all other nights? Ma nishtana halala hazeh mikol halelot. And that question has four answers. One of them involves reclining. One of them includes dipping, and so on and so forth. And our tradition teaches us, and this goes back to a previous video where I mentioned this, that the goal of Passover is that the children ask questions. And I like to think that we are all children around the Passover table in this sense, that we all should be asking questions. And so as leaders of the Seder, you are encouraged to do things that are different. And even in the Talmud, there's this great dialogue about doing things differently. And one of the rabbis says, but why? Why should we do things differently? And the answer is not so that we talk about our freedom or so that we learn about the Exodus. The answer is so that the children shall ask. That the very act of asking questions becomes a holy religious endeavor. And so Passover is very much meant to be as creative and different as possible. There's really no idea that is so out there that can't be done. Obviously, you want to do it in the framework of the Seder, of the order of things that happen. But there are so many things we can do. With regard to the four questions themselves, I tend to talk about this a little bit before singing the four questions. And another thing I've done sometimes is I do like having the youngest person at each table sing the four questions because sometimes people are very proud of that fact. But I also encourage the oldest person at each table to do so because we are never too old, God forbid, to ask questions and learn. And the famous Holocaust survivor Elie Wiesel was quoted once as talking about how when he came home from school as a young child, his parents wouldn't ask him what he learned that day, but they would ask him, what questions did you ask today? And that is an invitation for all of us to ask questions. And so another thing that I've done at Seders is have cards on the table, and you could even use index cards. They don't have to be fancy, where you literally write questions. So, for example, if you found out, like the Israelites did, that you were leaving on a big journey the next morning, what three things would you take with you and why? What's your favorite Jewish holiday? What's a place that you've never been that you really want to go to and why? Those sorts of questions are great for discussion around the Passover table.